Hey, everybody. Okay, so it's been what? 1, 2, 3 months
Give or take.
since we
My
posted an
fault. My
episode.
fault.
Uh, I won't put it all off on you. We had vacations and, you know, Father's Day, birthdays. My daughter came to visit. We had a unexpected death. Our little puppy dog passed on this month. Lots of different things, So and then July was really a packed month. We had some personal things we were taking care of, and then we had a vacation and other things. And so, you know, and because this podcast is informal, you know, we don't have the posh production team and episode scheduling and things like that, like most. So we had the flexibility of coming back when we had the ability to do so. And so here we are. Now, we didn't want August to leave us without at least putting something on the books for you all. We appreciate your support and we appreciate your patience with us. And we are back to talk about another taboo but necessary topic: expectations. Like communications, expectations is one of those general and broad things that if you don't, scale it down and tailor it to a specific event, it can get really, uh,
Overwhelming.
yeah, and you can get lost in the sauce. And so tonight we're breaking it down from these three perspectives: the perspective of your personal expectations, the expectations you set for the external relationships. And by external relationships you have, I mean business, acquaintances, associates, relationships that where there's some knowledge of you and knowledge of who you are, but it's not personal, right? So, and then we're also going to talk from the perspective of intimate relationships. And that's when we get into the relationships of, family, really good, solid friends, and like love relationships, expectations from all three of those places. And so that's kind of what we're going to get into tonight. And I also want to say to those of you that are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to leave us your feedback. We made sure to have our email address uh, above. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast platform, our email address is ittakeswork.itw@gmail.com. So, and connect with us on our social media platforms. We have not been posting like that because just like we haven't done the podcast, there hasn't been a lot of social media activity. Just time to kind of disconnect so that you can reconnect. So we are glad to be back. And let's get into this conversation.
Let's do it.
So I'll start with you. Yeah, because that's always how it should go. So personal expectations, just in general, we're not even getting into the relationship part. We're just talking about expectations you set for yourself living from day to day. Jelani's personal expectations. What is that? What does that look like?
It's mostly like anybody's expectations that they have for themselves. You want to be, from a man's standpoint, you want to be a good husband, a good father, a provider for your household. You want to make sure you have established a covering over your household as far as making sure that you're protecting your family as far as from a physical and a spiritual standpoint. And you just want to establish goals, big and small, for yourself to strive for to better yourself.
So before you go deeper, are those your personal
Yeah.
expectations? Okay, so that's general.
hmm
So what are those? What if you woke when you wake up tomorrow? What's that set of expectations you have for yourself tomorrow?
Tomorrow, get up and at the age I'm at now, and I think everybody that's in their 40s can relate.
Mm-hmm.
The joints, they creak and crack a little bit more than they used
Mm-hmm.
to, and when you put your socks on, that knee ain't coming up like it used to. So, first thing that I do in the mornings now, I do my stretches first thing in the morning. That's like almost a must, and I can't stand doing exercising but I also recognize that it's a necessity for me to have a more comfortable life.
Mm-hmm.
Doing stretches, obviously pray, have my conversations with God first thing in the morning because He's going to set the table for the course of your day.
Mm-hmm.
And then do what I ever got to do to get prepared for work or any kind of like, household tasks I might have to do for the day. And just kind of carry it from there.
Okay. So, and I'll take the mic here. My personal expectations for me, um, more or less are centered around the same thing, kind of waking up and allowing the day to set the tone of the day. You know what lies ahead, especially starting with God. Now I won't sit on this podcast and tell y'all that I am so consistent with that. No, no, I'm not. Some mornings I jump up just in time
To
to
jump on that
log in for
call.
the first meeting, So I will not tell the lie that, I am. So do I need to get better? Absolutely. But those are the expectations I set for myself, what the tone of my work day looks like. I try to have an idea of what my after work day looks like, so that I can have some sense of direction, right? And so now the thing is, those are the physical attributes of expectations,
Mhm.
right? So now I want to get into, so that it can tie into where we move into those relationship parts. What are the expectations you have for yourself as it relates to your engagement with people? And I'm not even talking about
Family.
people you close
Right.
to. I'm just saying in general, like, there's a baseline set of expectations that we have for people, whether we know them or not.
Hmm.
And so what are your baseline expectations?
My baseline expectations is basically show love to everybody you come in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hurt to smile at people and to greet people because you don't know if that person is going through hell or just being attacked
Mm-hmm.
and just having like the worst possible time. And just having an interaction with somebody and a simple smile could just help that person's day go a lot forward. So you just try to treat everybody with love and respect, and you hope you get that reciprocation, but you can't expect that from everybody. But that's my Jelani's expectations on how I treat anybody that I come across.
So I have a similar expectation. I'll say I think I have an expectation for people to be respectful,
Mhm.
because I used to have this expectation that people had to, they had to walk in alignment with me, but
Or agree on the same things
yeah,
you
but
agree with.
I
Yeah.
really, we're different. And honestly, that's how you really learn how to meet people. You learn how to meet them by meeting them where they are. So
Mhm.
for me, the baseline is respect. You don't necessarily have to be kind, but be respectful. Because the truth is, I'm a little bit leery of charming people, overly charming people. I'm leery because I'm like, what's your motive? What is your real, true intent? So for me, yeah, it would be, I would say respect, respectful. So segueing into the second part of this conversation, where when it comes to external relationships, I'll kick it off by saying, so when I'm working with somebody in business, if there's somebody I'm associating with, if there's somebody I am acquainted with, I don't quite know them well, or maybe I even have boundaries to leave it that way. Like everybody's, I don't, it's not an open door policy for me. It used to be when I was younger. When you're younger, everybody was your friend. Um, but I've learned some things,
Got to
and
categorize.
yeah, so I've learned to really put people in their place. And one thing, when it ties back to my personal expectations, I'm learning that if I'm going to set expectations for people, I also have to meet those same expectations within myself. So for external relationships, for example, there's just a bottom line set of things for business that I could apply across all of those relationships, business, associations, acquaintanceships, not random, and that is number one, respect in the business dynamic, professionalism, and also minimal interpersonal. activity. And the reason why I say that is because if it is not a relationship where you're building to get to know each other better, then you ought to make sure that you don't murky the water and cross and blur the lines. Because if it's going to be an external relationship with certain boundaries in place, you have to make sure you adhere to that. So my expectation is pretty much across the board. So if I'm dealing with an acquaintance, we may not be dealing in a business manner where it requires professionalism, but it does require respectability. It does require, some level of kindness, and then it also, and for me, honesty, and that can apply across every relationship that I have. Because if you're gonna lie to me and play in my face, I don't need you in my face. And so that expectation that I set for you, I'm gonna set for myself first. So that's from the external relationship perspective. Now, what about you?
Well, for people who don't know the field of work that I'm in, I'm actually a mobile detailer. Me and my son own a mobile detailing company. So mine is a little different where I'm interacting from a customer service standpoint, where you want to greet people with a smile on your face because you want to make them feel comfortable utilizing
Mm-hmm.
your services. And then, you can have, a lot of times I have small talk with people,
Mm-hmm.
just find out their general interests, how long they've been in the area, just try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. Let them know that, I am friendly. I do take, heed and making sure I pay attention to people,
Mm-hmm.
their likes and taking interest, so they feel like, okay, he's somebody I wouldn't mind, talking to or, getting his services again.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to be personal when you're in the customer service field.
I agree.
Because, you don't want some robot doing
I'm
giving you
here.
customer service.
I'm here to clean your car.
Yeah.
Um, I don't care about how your day is going. I
Right. You,
don't
you
care
don't want to
about.
send out those type of vibes to
Yeah.
people because they'll make them feel uncomfortable and make them like, this is gonna be the first and the last time I'm utilizing that service.
Yep.
So you have to be a little more personal
Mm-hmm.
and let the people feel at ease and relax with you, and then you want to give them that quality service. So then you put all that together, you basically gonna have yourself a customer for life
Yeah.
because people pay for good quality service, but they also pay for good customer service too.
That
And let me
that's. I
say,
think that's bigger than anything.
this lady right here
Uh-uh.
runs my business from an admin standpoint. And when I tell you, people, when I get to like, oh my God, whoever that Stacy lady is, she is awesome. And I like, that's my wife. I was like, that's right. I married beauty and brains right there. So, but that is like really, really key. And people really love that aspect of you being personal with them, showing them kindness,
Mm-hmm.
being understanding. All that stuff plays a role into your daily reactions with folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even from that side of things, right? So like especially when it comes to customer service, if I, as a customer myself, I know that there are certain things that if I'm spending my money, I have a certain expectation, right? So if I'm spending my money with you, and I take into consideration that, especially in customer service environments, they might have been dealing with some butthead person all day long, and then they get to
Hmm.
you, it may be misplaced. But I have an expectation for you to respect me and respect the fact that I'm spending my money with you and respect the fact that I'm, spending my time and whatever I am with you when I have choices. And so serving them in the capacity of customer service, I always treat every interaction as if I was on the other end of the phone. And that's what makes it, because I'm big on customer experience. I don't care how much money you spend. You give me a good customer experience, I'm not looking nowhere else. And anybody that knows me, they'll tell you when I find good service, I'm real faithful to the service, right? Prime example, whenever, personal services like hair and nails and stuff like that. Y'all know I wrote it out.
That's key for women,
I wrote it out with my
especially.
nail people. When we left Virginia and moved, I was devastated. I was considering trying to get on a plane and fly. It just wouldn't have been worth it. It was just been so irrational. But it was because not just because she did a good service, but she gave me a great customer experience. And so, from the perspective of external relationships and expectations, the expectations that you have of your customer, you yourself, you have of yourself,
Correct.
and so I think that's a good opportunity for us to kind of move into the third part of this conversation, which probably will be the longest one, is the expectations that you already set for yourself, that you already kind of cross over into external relationships. Now those expectations into the most intimate parts of your relationship. And I want to kick this off by really talking about, and we touched on this in season one, probably not. Excuse me, I keep putting my hair on my face. It's about to. I'm about to get it done. This is vacation hair, but it hung in there. Don't
Vacation here.
don't judge the vacation hair. I'm gonna shout out the braider out here in Orlando, Hair Lingo. She did y'all. These braids is almost 2 months old, and they just really starting to grow out. But I haven't lost one. Okay, I haven't lost a single one. They just starting to grow out. But yeah, um, expectations from intimate relationships. One of the things that I have learned is, when the relationship becomes intimate, and I'm not just talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about intimate relationships. Like, you have friends that know you. You have family that know you, and then you have your couple relationship, right? Those are intimate relationships. And what I have learned is, in those intimate relationships, you have to we you have a tendency not to communicate our expectations, right? And so, like, in season one, we touched on unspoken expectations a little bit. I think we had a little bit of a conversation about it, but I think this is where it would most apply, right? You will have these expectations because you are in this intimate relationship with this person. So you have these expectations that you think they should just know, because they know, because
Because they know
you've
you.
been with me for so long. You mean to
Mhm.
tell me you don't know what I want from you? No. And so, for me, in the intimate relationship part, this is where, do you have those same expectations for yourself, really applies. If I expect him to know what I need from him, what I want from him, just because he's been around me for the last 27 years, then I must have the same expectation for myself. Like, okay, cool. He don't have to tell you nothing either, because you should just know. Because if I have that expectation for him, I've got to have that same expectation for myself. And one of the drivers for this conversation, the reason why we're having this conversation, is because I've encountered so many people recently, I'd say within the last 6 months, who have these expectations that they ain't opening their mouths and talking about.
Some of the unrealistic ones.
Yeah. You should just know. Says who? The only all knowing, all seeing being I know is God. Says who? Which again goes back hand in hand with another topic we've touched on. I want to say season one, and maybe even part of season two, is communication.
Yes.
So you got to communicate your expectations, or else they're going to always be unmet. Like, wouldn't you agree with
I
that?
totally agree with that.
So, as it relates for you in intimate relationships, right? The expectations you have for them, would you say that you are good at communicating your expectation for your intimate relationships?
I'm getting better. I'll say this: the Jelani of today is leap years better and more experienced than the Jelani, even say 5, 10 years ago.
I mean, but that's understandable. If
Right.
you were who you were 10 years ago
That's a
today,
problem.
there's something wrong
Yeah,
there.
that's a problem.
Um,
But just touching on that a little bit more, I would say I definitely am better communicating because I've learned over the years that when I didn't open my mouth
mhm,
and stuff that irritated me happened, I didn't have nobody to blame but myself. I couldn't blame the person that I was mad at or who didn't meet those expectations because they didn't know.
mhm,
So
mhm,
you had to look at yourself. You had to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, what do I want? What do I require? Are those things obtainable realistically
mhm.
obtainable,
Mm-hmm.
not so super far fetched thing where you expect somebody to just like jump through, fire hoops for you and stuff.
Yep.
Stuff that you know that that person can actually obtain, and then you have to open your mouth and
Mm-hmm.
you have to communicate it where they actually be able to understand it.
I'm so glad you added that last little part. I was hoping you wasn't gonna leave it open ended like that because sometimes people will talk to you and will not pause to make sure that did you understand
You
what I
good?
said?
You
Does it
good?
make
You
sense?
got
Is
it?
it clear? And don't say it like that because it sounds all petty.
It
Not,
does.
I'm
It
talking,
does.
when you be like,
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying? Does it
Yeah.
make sense? Make it, don't say it like that.
Make it make
But
sense.
I just think it's important to say what you mean. Um, and I know that that's cliche, and we say that, but the truth of the matter is, most of the time, we don't.
And I think a lot of times when people don't say what they really mean
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to avoid hurting somebody's feelings,
Mm.
which sometimes is not something that's going to be able
You
to
won't be able
do.
to avoid that.
Yeah, there's something.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you gotta hurt somebody's feelings, especially depending on what kind of expectations you are trying to, get out of that particular relationship.
And hurt feelings might even come from you putting off being honest earlier on, right?
Hmm.
Because sometimes we can want to see where something will go, and so we will not trust whatever indicators, like God will give you a little push. Something will happen to be like, you probably need to have a conversation about that, or you probably need to look at this, or you probably need to express yourself here.
You just let it
And you just
ride.
don't, and you
Yep.
let it ride, and then it gets heavy. And now the only choice you have is to hurt their feelings with the thing. You can say it in as lovingly of a way as possible,
Still gonna
but
hurt.
it's still going to hurt. And so I feel like it's just important I think expectations. I think there are three things, regardless of the relationship type, regardless of what type of relationship it is, there are three things that just should be something that is continuously discussed, and understood and revisited. And that is, communication, expectations, and this last one's going to be a little bit like tricky, right? But obligations.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say obligations, right, is because sometimes we can set these we can make ourselves obligated, especially in intimate relationships, friends, families, you know, loved ones, like close knit
You
loved
think you
ones.
have to do
You put yourself in this space where you have to do something because they love me, and then let's tie it on back, and they expect this of me. And so these are conversations that I feel like should be had on a frequent basis, revisited to talk about, am I do you feel like I'm obligated, or am I operating in a space of obligation to this person or something like that, right? And that most of the time is that work you have to do within yourself first, before you go to somebody else talking about, here's what you're obligated to do for me, or
it.
here's what I'm not obligated to do for you.
Hmm.
um,
That can get messy.
that can get messy, ugly, and nasty, and all the things. And one of the things that I am actively working on, honestly, just being, vulnerable here, is passive aggressiveness. Because when I get tired of something, or something really gets on my nerves, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I heard that many
okay,
times. Yeah.
cool.
Now,
And
anytime I
then
hear that, I know something's wrong.
And when it's like, okay, but then after the okay, I still got something I want to say. So I'm gonna take a shot when I get a chance to take a shot. I'm gonna take that shot. I'm gonna take that dig. That's passive aggressive. So what I'm learning how to do and working on doing is really truly being more assertive, saying what I need to say without fear, but also keeping in mind that I want to deliver it in as lovingly of a way as possible, because that's what I would want. So I'm learning how to try to approach things in life from a place of, how would you want this to be delivered to you? Not with the expectation that that person's going to do it like I want them to do it. That's unrealistic to set expectations for people to do and be, to
What
do
you
things
want,
like you
exactly.
do, and to be who you want them to be. You're gonna set yourself up for hurt, and you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment, because that's an unrealistic expectation.
It's also controlling
It
too.
is. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
last thing you want is to be trying to control every aspect of your life. You're not gonna have control of every aspect of your life. If that's
Mm-mm.
the case, everybody would have be walking around with smiles on their face.
Not really though, because if you can control something and it goes exactly the way you want it to go, you already know what to expect, and then in that case, you won't grow.
Well, I'm not saying that they're gonna grow,
But
but
yeah,
yeah, because they're gonna think they got what they want out of
yep.
it.
And so I think it's just important that you look at the overall scope of all of your relationships, right? Look at and start with yourself. What are my expectations? And really dig deep on that. Like, don't keep it surface. Don't have surface level expectations for yourself. And then when you get in a situation, you haven't taken the time to do the work for yourself to say, I expect this of this person, but am I myself willing to meet that same expectation if it were required of me? I think that's the bottom line question. So we don't want to keep y'all too long. We just about at that 30-minute mark, and we just wanted to come back and touch base and let y'all know that, yeah, we still here. We still here. And since we left y'all hanging in the wind for almost 3 months, it has been, because the last episode we did was May
June.
21st.
We didn't do it for June.
We did not do one for June.
So,
So I think we owe y'all a couple of episodes in September. Don't you agree?
definitely.
Yeah, and so we're gonna give y'all a little bit of a glimpse into what the next episode is gonna be about. And so, since it was Mr. Wilson's topic, I'm gonna let him tell y'all what's coming in episode 6.
Episode 6. Let me make sure I get my wording correct, because, like my wife says, my grammar is horrible and
And I am a
everything.
grammar snob.
Yes, she is.
And
That's why I call her nickname the English teacher.
that's okay.
Breaking down fences.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is those things that people have said about you, that you have believed or you have attached to being who you quote unquote are. How do you break those things down? And how do you deconstruct and build up a positive you
Mm-hmm.
in a nutshell?
Okay. All right. So look out for the promo for the September episodes. We'll probably try to give y'all at least 2 in the month of September. So keep your eyes and ears open. And for those of you that are following us on all of our platforms as well as our website, we are going to be posting the details about the 2024 couples retreat. We had a great time this year in Negril, Jamaica.
Wish I was back.
Man, listen, it was
That
it
was
was
awesome.
great. So the couples retreat is not just limited to married couples. You can be engaged. You can be dating on a fancy level, because if I'm dating somebody and they want to take me to Jamaica, come on with it.
Look,
Let's get
fellas,
into it.
that's a good browning points right there.
Listen, so yeah, so we are working on those details. That trip is actually, we're trying to plan it for December of 2024 to allow people time to, pay deposits and pay down, and not be all stressed out. Plus, we learned that Jamaica in July is no joke.
Little sizzling.
The best time to go to Jamaica is between December and March. And we know that firsthand because we went. The first time we went was in December. It was phenomenal. The second time we went was in March. Phenomenal. It was phenomenal this time too. Don't misunderstand me.
Just a little
But
toasty.
it was hot. Like when we walked outside, just sweat, just hot. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Visit my sister soul. Did I spell it out? I'm just trying to remember. Yes. MSS, My Sister Soul Productions.com. And you'll see a link there for the It Takes Work page. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for those who are viewing us on YouTube and the Spotify platform. And we will see y'all next month.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.